Today's recipe is a classic. It's from Kerala, Vegetable Thoran. Let's begin. Well, my grandmother was from Gujarat and she had a lot of Gujarati influence, of course, while cooking food. And eventually when she settled in Bombay, or in Mumbai now, the world was wide open. It literally is like a melting pot. You never know in whose house what kind of cuisine is getting cooked. So this, despite being Kerala, for me, it was always Mumbai. Now, this recipe is going to be divided into 2-3 different parts. The first one is making the spice mix, which is like a base made with coconut. To make that base, the primary ingredient is freshly grated coconut. So let's take that directly in a mixer jar. Well, this mix can be made in various ways. You can spice this up with green chilies, red chilies, with garlic. I'm using a combination of both actually. I'm not using garlic also in this recipe. But by all means, in this kind of a recipe composition, 1 clove of garlic would work perfectly well. Grated coconut, to which I'm going to add in onions today, but otherwise shallots work perfectly well in this recipe. A red chilli, dried. Just cut this into little pieces like so. 1 little green chilli as well. Peppercorns. Again, it's like a spicier version of a porial. So you can go all out and bring in the spices. Cumin seeds. When I say lots of spices, I mean the spices are all laid in front of you. But in that little proportion, you can actually keep playing. A little more of the red chilli, a little less of the black pepper, a little more of the cumin. You can keep playing. Some curry leaves. And we grind this without adding water. That's again very important in this case because you almost want like a dry mix. You're not here looking at a chutney-like consistency, just like a dry mix which can eventually get mixed into the mixed vegetables. Let's do that. Our coconut and spice mix is done and ready. Let's transfer this in a bowl and move on to cutting the vegetables. Let's keep this aside and move on to the next step, and that is cutting the vegetables nice and fine. Well, I'm using the classic 3 vegetables: carrots, French beans and cabbage. By all means, you can go all out and use yam, you can use sweet potatoes, you can use beetroots, or you can cook all of these individually. Imagine just a carrot thoran or a French beans thoran or a cabbage thoran. Works wonderfully well. Moving on to French beans. It's important to snip the ends off and string this as well. Well, there's a little thread-like thing right here, which is also kind of important to remove. All the beans may not have it. The next step is to collect all of these beans and chop this again nice and fine. And finally, moving on to green cabbage. Ensure that all the vegetables are washed nicely before we start cutting and processing, because now you will not be able to wash it. Otherwise, the vegetables will lose all their nutrient value. Let's cut this also nice and fine. Let's transfer all these vegetables into a deep bowl. And into these vegetables, I'm going to add in this spice mix with coconut, of course. Let's give this a good mix. Well, every traditional recipe is made differently. Every home, every housewife, every cook, every chef has their own little take on the recipe. Well, this is a thoran that I've learned from my grandmother, and this recipe is really dear to me. So when I'm making this, I actually have her in my mind and in my thoughts. Once all of this is mixed well, we keep this aside and begin with the process called tempering. A wok or a kadhai, some oil. Well, you can make this recipe only with coconut oil, but what I like to do is begin the recipe with a vegetable oil or any seed oil. While the oil is still beginning to heat, we're going to add in the urad dal. This is black gram, which takes a little while to cook till it turns golden brown in color. We will cook this, and then by that time the oil would have also heated, and that is when we add in the mustard seeds. We keep stirring this because we do not want the dal to get burnt. Also, what's important at this stage to note is we've not added the lentils in hot oil, because what will happen is the dal or the lentil will turn golden brown on the outside, or rather even burn for that matter, and stay raw within. That would leave a very untoward bite in this vegetable, and we do not want that to happen. So always start in oil which is moderately hot. Remember this. Once the lentils turn golden brown in color, The oil would have also spiked up. Let's add in mustard seeds. Once these begin to splutter, we're immediately going to add in shallots or red onions. Let's stir this well and add in curry leaves and green chilies. Ensure that we remove the stalk and snip the chilies roughly. Once the onions turn translucent and still have that little bite to them, we add in the vegetables along with the coconut and spices. Along with this, I'm going to add in salt and turmeric powder. We mix this well, and eventually we're going to add in a little bit of water to this recipe, very little, which is also actually not required really. We cover this and cook it on medium flame for at least 10 to 12 minutes. Let's have a quick check. And with this, our thoran is done and ready. Let's quickly serve this. With this, our mixed vegetable thoran is done and ready. How do you eat this? Maybe with some red rice, sambar and rasam? Try it out. This is me, the Bombay Chef Varun Inamdar, signing off. Stay tuned for more such quick, simple, easy, yet stunning recipes. Bye for now.